Queens, New York, where the rain pours down over a cemetery in which Magneto, Monet, St. Croix, and myself stand over a now empty grave.
He's still alive. Or alive again. Whichever. Both. Take your pick.
Monet tells us.
Either way, he's back.
Magneto declares. I examined the grave and reported that he dragged himself up, tore open the casket, and dug through the dirt. There are a lot of bad ways to go out. This is a hell of a way to come back, I added.
And he's out there in the world, alone. Before his death, he displayed greater power than ever before. His gifts were evolving.
Magneto remarks, adding that they have likely continued to evolve, perhaps in dangerous ways.
Dangerous? Magneto? Or useful?
Monet frowned.
Equal measure of both. Equal enough that he needs guidance.
Magneto points out, before asking Monet if she can track him. Monet replies that it shouldn't be that difficult, and looking down at the grave marking of Joshua Foley, she adds that she will calibrate Cerebro to hone in on his power levels, as there aren't that many Omega mutants left in the world. The ruins of Genosha.
All right, we're not done just yet. Again!
A voice calls out as a golden hand points at some rubble, which starts to glow.
Rise up.
The voice declares, and the Dark Rider called Gauntlet emerges from the rubble, his decayed form slowly repairing.
You know, I never thought of using healing as a weapon, as an implement of torture. Not until you and your Dark Riders came along, Gauntlet. Now, though, I can't help but think of the pain that comes with healing.
The voice calls out as Gauntlet cries out in agony.
Bones mending. Flesh stitching itself back together, nerves firing back up. Healing is pain. And coming back from the dead. That was agony.
Gauntlet walks towards the figure standing before him, whose gold hand suddenly turns black.
You taught me that, Gauntlet. And now I want you to experience it. Again and again.
The voice declares as Gauntlet suddenly drops to the ground, dead. Up above, the X-Men's Blackbird jet appears. We fly down towards Joshua Foley, also known as Elixir, who looks up at us, his body switching back from black to gold.
Let me guess. You've come to help me. And just like always, you're too late to do any good.
He tells us. He then quotes.
Welcome to the X-Men. Hope you survive the experience.
And asks if it is a joke. Josh points out that he didn't survive and tells us that it is all right. It's cool, as he is better now. Better than better, in fact.
Here, let me show you.
He offers before turning to the remains of Gauntlet.
Once more for the late arrivals, huh, Gauntlet?
Josh asks.
Drag your pathetic carcass back out here.
He tells Gauntlet, using his power to revive the horrid remains of the Dark Rider once again. Josh, what are you doing here? Monet asks. Josh turns to her and tells Monet that it is pretty obvious. After all you've been through, you need. Monet begins before Josh reminds her that she held him as he died.
You cradled me in your arms. I think you might have cried.
Josh turns dark and looks away from Monet.
I bet you saw that as weakness, didn't you?
He asks, telling her that he can see now the true sickness, the true frailty embedded deep in Monet's cells.
Your tears were comforting, though.
Josh admits, adding that it made him feel like he would be missed after the Dark Riders killed him.
Remember when that happened? You were trying to help me then, too.
He adds, as he destroys Gauntlet once again. Magneto informs Elixir that he could be putting himself and others at risk, as we do not know how his transition might have affected his physiology.
Your abilities are changing in.
Magneto begins, but Elixir interrupts him, asking,
Why now? Why didn't you check on me sooner? Why'd you leave me to claw my way through the mud?
Angrily, Elixir spins around, reverting back to his golden form.
You should have known! You should have known I'd come back!
He tells Magneto, and frowns as he points out that nothing stays dead in this world.
Sometimes death is as it should be. Sometimes death is forever.
Magneto replies, but Elixir declares that Magneto is wrong. Oh, so wrong.
I'll prove it to you. I'll bring them back. Everyone who died here. I'll bring them all back.
Elixir boasts, releasing his power over the ground in front of him. To the shock of Magneto, myself and Monet, who asks,
He can't do that, can he?
Magneto tells her that we don't know, as we have no idea what he is capable of.
Ah, I can.
Elixir utters, before collapsing to the ground, his healing power fading from where he cast it. Monet rushes over to Elixir and announces that he has passed out, that the strain of what he was attempting was too much for him. Whatever he was calling up, it's subsiding back beneath the waves. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I reported.
He was raising them. The mutants who died here. He was bringing them back.
Magneto announces.
Maybe he was raising the dead. We don't know. But he was trying to prove a point. And that's no reason to thumb your nose at the laws of nature and morality.
Monet tells us, I know what you're thinking, because I'm thinking it too. What if he could bring back everyone we've lost just like that? But what if he raised 16 million mutants as flesh-eating zombies? Monet asks, suggesting that they could come back and their powers were wildly out of control. Monet picks Elixir up and carries him in her arms, telling us to forget the what-ifs altogether for a moment. You're talking about Elixir, like he's some power tool you're not sure if you should switch on or not. Because you haven't studied all the safety features. But he's a person we failed who has been given another shot at life. Magneto tells Monet that she is right, and agrees that if we are going to understand Elixir's powers, then we will need to start small. God, help me. I'm starting to realize how Psylocke felt. Damn you, Magneto. Shortly, the team is back on the Blackbird, and Josh is awake, but drowsy.
Can't just leave them. Leave my friends. I can heal.
He begins, but Monet tells him to relax, and that he is safe now.
Where am I? Where are you taking me?
Josh asks. Magneto turns to the young mutant and asks him where he would like us to take him.
I don't even know what I am anymore.
Josh replies.
What I can do. What I should do.
His voice trails off. As Magneto remarks that those are questions we should all ask ourselves.
I guess if you want to help me, if I'm ever going to figure this out, take me where I can do some good.
Josh asks. Soon, the Blackbird arrives in Kansas City, Missouri, where tents are lined up behind wire fences and people in rags huddle about. What is this place? A hospital? One of us asks. Magneto announces that it is a crisis medical center dedicated to treating mutants who are suffering from the effects of the Terrigen mists. One of 3 in the continental United States, and 11 in the world. Magneto informs Josh that this is why the Dark Riders came for him. They feared that he could heal the victims, that he could cure M-Pox.
I tried, back before I went off on my own. I can't.
Josh reveals.
You couldn't.
Magneto states, as a mutant ravaged with the disease looks up at them.
Hey, I know you. You're Magneto. You blow up buildings, attack people. To help mutants?
The mutant remarks, adding,
But I ain't seen you help me at all, man. Everything you've done, and I'm still dying.
Magneto pulls back the entrance to one of the tents and reminds Elixir that his powers have grown significantly, and suggests that it is possible the Dark Riders unlocked the very power they feared. We walk through the makeshift hospital, where beds are covered with seals to protect the mutants, and a small group of doctors do what they can for their patients. Magneto announces that every bed is filled and more mutants wait outside for one of these victims to die, so that they may be made comfortable in their final moments. One of the doctors sees Magneto and is not happy. No, I don't know why you're here, but this is not a hospital, not some arena for your antics, he exclaims before asking Magneto to leave. I then growled at the doctor and suggested he give us a little space.
The Terrigen cloud poisons us, robs us of our life. our dignity.
Magneto declares. We looked at an unfortunate mutant behind one of the sealed beds, as Magneto remarks that some say the mists are like an act of nature, that they have no intellect, so they cannot know malice. They do not recognize their prey, and that frightens him.
I prefer having an adversary I can kill.
Magneto explains.
And you think I could heal these people?
Josh asks.
You could use me against M-Pox. Strike a blow against the disease, against the mists. Treat them the way you treat all your enemies. You see healing as a weapon too.
Josh declares. He looks at his hands and recalls that when Monet and I came to protect him from the Dark Riders, he was in hiding. Not that he realized anyone was coming after him. He just didn't know how he could be of use in the world.
If the only thing I'm good at is healing, and that didn't help, what good am I?
Josh asks. He looks at the infected mutants and decides that, if nothing else, he could have made it easier for the people who were suffering. Monet tells Josh that he can see what we are up against, and adds that maybe now he can see why he became such an easy target in the first place. She assures him that we are not expecting anything from him today.
No?
Elixir asks.
You don't even believe that yourself, Em. You might not have expectations, but what about him?
Elixir adds, turning to Magneto. Suddenly, Elixir throws his arms into the air and releases his healing power throughout the tent.
All right, whatever. You want a show. I'll give you one.
He exclaims as healing power flows over the dying mutants.
I've got a lot to make up for.
Elixir declares, if the kid does this, it changes everything. I pointed out. Elixir announces that he can feel it so different than before. The disease M-Pox. It is retreating, receding from his light.
It's afraid of me.
Elixir calls out as the doctor watches in awe and announces that the symptoms are being eliminated. The healed mutants get to their feet and throw their arms up into the air. Monet smiles at Magneto and tells him that it worked. I didn't think it was possible, but he's cured them, Monet remarks, adding that if Elixir can do that, then perhaps he can raise the dead. Maybe he can return those we have lost.
It's afraid. I can feel it. Scared. Dying.
Elixir calls out, tears falling down his face.
It feels good.
Elixir exclaims, when suddenly he switches to his black form.
It feels good to kill it.
Elixir begins as his death touch flows out to the mutants. What's happening to me? One of them screams, while the doctor coughs, then throws up.
Life. Death. Spilling back and forth from one cup to the other. And I'm caught. I'm in the undertow.
Elixir frowns. No, please no. The doctor pleads as he drops to his knees. He's losing it. Some sort of psychic backlash, I exclaimed, pointing out that Elixir is sapping the life out of the doctors and nurses. Monet goes up behind Elixir and reports that she can put him to sleep, stop him. But then she discovers that his mind is a mess, that there are waves of confusion and rage smashing against crumbling breakers of rationality. Angrily, Elixir spins around and confronts Monet, asking her what she is doing in his head. He boasts that he is saving these people and that he won't let her snuff his light.
You're not going to stop me. Not now. Not like the Dark Riders.
Elixir snaps as he reaches out and grabs Monet's face.
I wonder, that nasty little parasite that's rooted to your system, Monet, should I burn it away? I could.
Elixir begins when suddenly he screams as I slashed my claws across his back. Sorry about this, kid. Sorry I couldn't save you before. Sorry I can't save you now. I tell Elixir, pointing out that Elixir has a darkness in him that can't be controlled. I know a little about that. Elixir moves away from me, and I can see that the cuts are healing almost as soon as I make them. Elixir announces that he can see my ailments too.
But I don't think you'd like what you'd become if I cured you.
Elixir exclaimed as he releases his death power against me. Magneto levitates scraps of metal and tells Elixir to stop this, as we are not his enemies.
We need you. Mutants need you. I can train you, guide you.
Magneto offers. But Elixir asks Magneto what he knows about healing.
The only thing you know how to do is destroy. You can't teach me anything.
Magneto suddenly loses control over the metal scraps, which clang to the floor as Elixir's death power starts to overwhelm Magneto.
No, not like this. There is still so much to be done.
Magneto utters as he falls to the ground near myself and Monet.
The world doesn't need you, Magneto. I can feel it. Feel its faint pulse, its labored breath. I have it right in my hands. Weak, sick, and I can heal the entire...
Elixir exclaims. He begins, when suddenly he reverts to his golden form.
Oh, God. Oh no, I didn't. What did I do?
Elixir asks as he looks over at the mutant, struggling for life under one of the sheets covering the bed. Elixir mumbles before releasing his healing power and announcing that he didn't mean for this to happen and didn't want it to happen.
Please, let there be time.
He hopes as we all start to heal. Elixir turns away and tells us that we have to believe him. He never wanted this. He apologizes to us. And Magneto remarks that there have always been two facets to Elixir's powers, each side balancing the other, life and death. Magneto explains that Elixir controlled these forces on such a small level, healing a person here and there, but now with so much power at his disposal, the output was too much to handle, the scales tilted too fast, and the repercussions might have been catastrophic.
What happens if he raises 16 million people from the dead? How will the scales be balanced?
A mutant sitting nearby points out that Elixir did cure some of these mutants of Terrigen poisoning, so he should feel proud of what he accomplished.
Any good he might have done is outweighed by the guilt he feels for the damage he might have inflicted. Believe me, I know.
Magneto declares. Magneto continues, pointing out that Elixir's vast powers and his overwhelming guilt will take some adjustment. So, what do we do about him? Monet asks. Magneto replies that he is unwilling to give up on Mr. Foley's potential and that he can still be of great use to us, but he cannot be the one to guide him. Later, at Zorn's temple in Tibet, the mutants who reside there go about their peaceful business, while Elixir sits before Zorn and tells him that they should have killed him and definitely should not have brought him here among all these people.
I'm too dangerous.
Josh exclaims. Zorn informs Josh that he is in one of the most remote places in the world and that he is here to help, should he have another episode. Hanging his head, Josh utters that he came back as something worse than he was before.
Not worse, not better, only different.
Zorn points out, adding that the differences and how Josh chooses to use them make him who he is.
You have been reborn, Elixir, and the slate is clean. Consider what a gift you've been given.
Zorn suggests, adding that Josh should consider, once he has honed his powers, how many others he can bless with the same gift.
Let's begin, shall we?
Zorn asks. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like the video, my fellow mutants.